Alright, today we have a Mariner 8 horsepower 2-stroke motor. We're going to change the spark plugs on. Got some fresh NGK BS HS plugs. That's what originally came in the motor. Let's take these out and see what we got in here now. Looks like we got Champions. This 13/16 wrench. Those weren't in there too tight, so that's good. This motor ran pretty good, but I figure I just change these because I don't know when the last time it was done. Currently got this motor on a 14-foot Grumman. You can see in my other videos that we do a little restoration to it. It moves the boat around okay, but I'm just going to run this motor until we can find a nice 15 or 20 horsepower. I don't have the book on this motor, but from my internet search, I got two answers about the gap. I got one that said 25 thousandths, one that said 28. So as long as we get it somewhere in there, we should be fine. Let's see what the gap is on the ones that we took out, these Champions. Oh. This is a spark plug gap tool, by the way. You'll need one of these, or a feeler gauge. You can use that too. They're about 38, almost 40 thousandths on this one. We're about the same there. So according to my info I got on the internet, these are gapped a little bit too big. Let's get our new plugs here. See what these are coming out of the box at. $25. So we're in between 25 and 30 thousandths. So that's pretty much where we need to be. I think the newer motors, they got hotter ignition, so they run more gap. This one I'm going to close just a little bit. You can usually just push down on it. If you need to open it up, you just open the gap up a little bit if you need to go bigger. They have spark plug gapping tools for that. Yeah, I'm gonna call this good. Next thing we're going to do is get a little bit of anti-seize on the threads. Don't need a whole bunch. Start these by hand. Curious to see how this thing runs with the factory plugs and smaller gap. 13/16. I'm not sure what this torque spec is on these, but sure don't want to strip them out, so something like this, I just want to get them snug. And then we'll go about a quarter turn more. There you go. These plugs have a kind of like a crush washer, so when they're new, it's crushing the washer, so it's not going to feel real tight. Like if I put this old plug back in, it's going to be tight right away, and then you just go a quarter turn more. But on these, you can keep going and going until you really smash it, but you don't need to. And you just put your spark plug boots back on. Put dielectric grease on there if you'd like to, but I changed the spark plugs out enough to where they're not going to get stuck on there. Every motor has a different gap, or mostly, so you should really check for your motor. Make sure you get in the proper gap. Get yourself some anti-seize, especially in a wet environment like these boat motors, or salt water especially. Here's a spark plug gap gauge. You'll need one of those. And they have a tool too for opening or closing the gap on the spark plugs. But yeah, it's really easy. Curious to see how this thing does now. We're going to do another video about the gear oil. I'm going to change that next.